Money. We all use it every single day to buy, to sell, to survive. But have you ever wondered what money really is? Why does a small piece of paper or a number on your screen have any value at all? Once upon a time, every coin in your hand had real worth, made of shining gold or silver. Today, it's just ink and paper, or even worse, a digital entry on a bank server. This is the story of how gold money, real, tangible, eternal, was replaced by fiat money, money created from nothing but trust, a story that shaped the modern economy, built nations, and trapped millions in invisible chains of debt. Thousands of years ago, before banks and governments printed paper bills, people used gold and silver as money. Why gold? Because it was rare, beautiful, didn't rust, and couldn't be easily created or destroyed. Every gold coin represented real wealth. If you had gold, you had power. Empires rose and fell based on their gold reserves. In ancient Egypt, gold was considered the flesh of the gods. In Rome, it powered armies and trade. In the Islamic Caliphate, the dinar, made of pure gold, became one of the most trusted currencies in history. Gold gave people freedom. No government could just print more gold. It had to be mined, refined, and stored. That limited supply meant gold naturally held its value. A farmer in 1000 AD could trade a gold coin for a goat. A farmer in 1900 could still do the same. Gold didn't care about time. It didn't lie. But gold had one big problem. It was heavy. Merchants traveling across countries couldn't carry bags of gold safely. So people began storing gold in temples and banks, and in exchange, they received paper receipts that represented the gold. These receipts were promises. You could redeem them for gold anytime. And soon, people started using the receipts themselves as money. It was convenient, lightweight, and easy to trade. But here's where things took a dark turn. Over time, kings, governments, and bankers realized something powerful. Most people never came to claim their gold. So they started issuing more paper than the gold they actually had. That's how fractional banking was born. The idea that banks can lend more money than they physically own. It worked until it didn't. When too many people tried to get their gold back at once, the entire system collapsed. History saw bank runs, panics, and financial crises, all caused by the illusion that paper was as good as gold. By the 19th century, most major countries adopted something called the gold standard. It was simple. Every paper note had to be backed by a fixed amount of gold. That meant you could exchange your money for real gold anytime. This system brought stability. Prices were steady, and people trusted their money. Governments couldn't print endlessly because every dollar, pound, or rupee had to be matched by gold in the treasury. The gold standard forced discipline. It was a check against greed. Ordinary people suffered while governments borrowed heavily. After the war, countries tried to return to gold, but the damage was done. Then came World War II, another era of massive spending and debt. By 1944, global leaders met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to rebuild the world's financial system. They decided that the US dollar would be the world's primary currency, and it would be backed by gold at $35 per ounce. Other currencies would be tied to the dollar. It was a new version of the gold standard, but this time, the power was centralized. The US became the bank of the world. For a while, it worked. But soon, America began spending more than it had on wars, welfare, and expansion. Other countries noticed the US was printing dollars far beyond its gold reserves. So in 1971, French President Charles de Gaulle demanded to exchange billions of US dollars for real gold. And that's when President Richard Nixon made the historic announcement. He ended the dollar's convertibility to gold. In one night, money lost its anchor. The fiat era had begun. Fiat means let it be done. Fiat money is money by decree. It has value because the government says so, not because it's backed by anything real. From that moment, central banks could print unlimited money. At first, people didn't notice much. But over time, prices began to rise. A cup of coffee that cost 25 cents in 1970 might cost $5 today. Not because coffee changed, but because money lost its value. Inflation became normal. Debt became normal. And the world entered a cycle of endless borrowing and spending. Gold and fiat money are more than just economic systems. They represent two worldviews. Gold stands for honesty, scarcity, and discipline. Fiat stands for trust, control, and manipulation. When money is backed by gold, governments are accountable. When it's fiat, they can print, borrow, and spend without limit. pushing the cost to future generations. Under fiat systems, inflation acts like a hidden tax, silently stealing your purchasing power year after year. In contrast, gold keeps value across centuries. In 1920, 1 ounce of gold could buy a fine suit. Today, that same ounce, worth nearly $2,000, can still buy a fine suit. But a $20 bill from 1920? It can barely buy a pizza. Gold doesn't change. Our money does. Now in the 21st century, money is transforming again. We've moved from gold to paper and from paper to pixels. Digital fiat currency rules the world. Most money today exists only as numbers in a computer. Governments are even planning central bank digital currencies where every transaction is tracked and controlled. For some, that means safety. For others, it means the end of financial freedom. At the same time, new alternatives like Bitcoin have emerged, a digital form of money that mimics gold's scarcity and independence. It's not controlled by banks or governments, and it can't be printed at will. Some call it digital gold. Maybe history is repeating itself, just in a new form. So, which is better, fiat money or gold money? Fiat gives flexibility, growth, and control, but it's built on trust and can collapse when that trust breaks. Gold gives stability, honesty, and timeless value, but it limits power and expansion. The truth is, humanity has always been torn between the two: freedom and control, trust and truth, paper and metal. We built a global economy on promises, not gold. And as the world drowns in trillions of dollars of debt, the question remains: was abandoning gold the price of progress or the beginning of a slow financial decline? Because in the end, money is not just what we hold in our hands, it's what we believe in. And belief is the most valuable currency of all.